Hey everyone, Florida Man here with my buddy Mano.
Hey.
And we're crossing the border into Poland this morning, and we're going to show you guys how to get back and forth into Ukraine, out of Ukraine from the Lviv side. So join us while we go get some grub for our hangover from last night. Yeah. Also, we are at the Western bus station, just so you guys know. And yes, it is a little sketchy.
This is the mashurtka, right?
That's our mashurtka right now? Oh, great. So yeah, this is our ride. Let's get started. Hey everyone, so properly, what is this video about? This video is about crossing the border, going back and forth between Ukraine and Poland. This is for people that want to volunteer in Ukraine, and usually the first obstacle, hurdle they have is figuring out how do you actually get into Ukraine. There's many different ways. Some are far more efficient, far more cost effective, and far less stressful than others. So today I have Mano with me. Mano's a longtime volunteer in Ukraine. He has been in Lviv for over 2 years. He helps out at the volunteer kitchen. He's actually quite a big help there. He's one of the pillars of the community, I would say. So we'll talk a bit about volunteering in Lviv area, but first thing we're going to talk about is actually how to get into Ukraine through the Polish border, primarily heading to Lviv. So first off, let's talk to Mano. Mano, what are some ways that we could get into Ukraine?
All right, hey everyone. So the best way, I guess, no hassle, is get the train, because the passport control is on the train and it's super easy. You get all the way to the train station in the center of Lviv, and it's nice and easy. The only issue with the train is getting a ticket. Sometimes it's not easy because they're full, especially during summer holidays and Christmas, Easter, that kind of stuff. The tickets go on sale 21 days before the date of travel, and so if you can get online that day, that's the best way. If you can't get a train ticket, then cross on foot. There's different ways to get to the border, and then you cross on foot. That's just a few minutes. All right, so I've just crossed the border. You can see that's the path you follow. So now I'm in Poland. And I'm gonna go all the way to where the bus stop is. Show you where the bus stop is. All right, so actually, I'm gonna film the end of the path. So I just turned here, that's where the border was. And lucky, this is the shuttle bus that goes to Przemysl, where you can take a train or a bus, because Przemysl station is both bus and train station. This little shuttle takes you there in about 20 minutes. There's not really a schedule for it. It comes and goes all day. It costs 6 zloty, so it's like €1.50 or something. There's also, just on the other side of the road there's also an actual bus station there. And so if you don't want to go through Przemysl, you can take a Flixbus right there and go to Krakow directly, or to wherever you're going. So this is where Ben couldn't make it because he forgot his passport. So that's the bus that goes to Przemysl. If you're stuck and you need to spend a night in Przemysl, or like your schedule doesn't work for the border crossing, there's a place called Hope Shelter in Przemysl where you can help cook for Ukrainian refugees that have just escaped from usually the newly occupied territories. And they're on their way to somewhere, usually in the West, Europe or Canada or whatever. So you can help at Hope Shelter, cook for one evening, and then spend a night there, and then do what I'm about to do to go back to Lviv. So cross the border on foot and take the mashurtka, and you'll see it's pretty straightforward and pretty easy. There's two lines, one for Ukrainian passports and one that says EU, but it's basically for everyone else. You can have a passport from literally anywhere else, and that's fine, like Australia, Canada, Chile, UK, whatever. And that line is much shorter, of course, because there's not that many foreigners coming to Ukraine now.
And so what we showed earlier, Mano did the crossing today on foot, and let's say you not only did you go across the border, but you came back from the border. And how long did it take you in total?
35 minutes or something. And I spent 5 minutes making a video on the other side where I showed the bus that you need to take the shuttle bus that goes from Medica to Przemysl.
Right. So, yeah, crossing on foot, you were able to do it, let's say, in 30 minutes. Most of the time, if you're talking about trying to cross the border, you hear stories about people having to wait 6 to 8 hours. What's the worst way to cross?
Bus, definitely.
The bus, yes.
Yeah, I would say avoid the bus at all costs, right? Because buses, the rule of thumb is you have to wait for about an hour per bus that's ahead of you. So if you get to the border and there's 10 buses ahead of you, you're going to wait 10 hours to get through the border. So, nightmare scenario. You're going to miss your flight or train or whatever you have after, so yeah, avoid that. Find a way to get to the border. You can take a taxi or a mashurtka like we just did with Ben. Get to the border, then cross on foot, and then on the other side there's a lot of other means of transport. You can take a bus directly from the other side that goes to Krakow Airport, for example.
The foot crossing is the easiest way to cross. How do you get to do a foot crossing? That's a little challenging, and so that's why we're kind of showing what we're doing here right now. So if you're coming from Poland, let's say we get into Krakow Airport, we can one way take a bus to the border. Specifically, we can take a flexi bus to
Medica.
And what's the stop called?
Medica.
Medica? Okay, so you take a stop to Medica. Or you can do what I usually do, is that I take the train from Krakow to Przemysl, and then from Przemysl I take a taxi to the border crossing. There's always going to be a taxi there. You can also use Bolt. Bolt is an app that you can use inside of Poland and Ukraine. That is one option. But obviously you're going to be paying a bit more than just the other ways.
Cheapest way is the shuttle.
The cheapest way, yeah.
6 zloty, so it's like €1.50 or something.
Right. And then once you get across the border, like right now where we're actually in front of the bus station right now, and so you're probably hearing diesel engines going off constantly from time to time. But yeah, we take a mashurtka from here. There is a line. We'll show you guys the picture because you do need to have it in Cyrillic. There's nothing in English here. So you do need to know what the word Lviv is in Ukrainian and how to, make sure you get on the right bus. Because most people here don't speak English, I would say. The mashurtka drivers? No. So if you're a bit adventurous, you can do it that way. The safest and usually easiest way, but probably most expensive way, is going to be taking a taxi. But when you take a taxi, though, Mano has the skills here. I didn't know, they will wait sometimes, so you can wait for several people to all take the taxi together because Lviv's such a common spot. And so if you're going by yourself, though, if a taxi driver, making sure you don't get super scammed, how much should you expect to pay if you're taking a taxi to Lviv?
20 or 25 euros is okay price. Don't pay 50 euros or whatever, I've heard some people do, especially if you're sharing, which you should be able to do fairly easily. There's always guys waiting and people crossing the border. So.
Yeah. And so, but the mashurtka, let's also talk about a little bit about mashurtkas. Currency-wise, you have to use hryvnia?
Yeah.
Zloty or dollars.
It has to be cash for mashurtka.
It has to be cash as well. That's one of the things you need to understand. Once you're in Ukraine, you should probably have some cash. A lot of places here are paperless. You can do a lot of things without it.
In Lviv, you don't need cash. It's fine for almost everything.
Transportation-wise, if you're doing old-school transportation, you're going to need cash on hand.
Even the buses and trams in Lviv, you can pay by card. You can pay with your credit card.
Now, some cards, my card doesn't work. I have to use my Ukrainian card. So it could be because it's MasterCard type or Visa card type. So be aware of that as well. But in generally, once you're in Lviv area, it gets a lot easier, and you can just use regular taxis, or it's a very dense city. It's easy to get around.
In Lviv, you can even get a Leo card, which is like a public transportation card that you can charge by paying with your credit card or whatever, cash if you want. And then once you get on the bus, it like discounts, it takes money out. Bus or tram or whatever.
So generally, these are the ways to get across into Ukraine. Once you're here, once you're in Lviv, pretty much you have Lviv's like a major train hub station. It's very easy to reach any other place in Ukraine. Also, the train from Przemyśl to Lviv, that train actually goes all the way to Kyiv. It's the Przemyśl-Kyiv line. So you can actually go straight to Kyiv through there. But I'd recommend, if you get the chance, spend a couple days in Lviv if you're going to go to other places. And let's talk about now about volunteering in Ukraine, and especially in Lviv, in your guys' area, because I always feel like Lviv should be the first place people go to volunteer. If you don't have any plans, if you're coming into Ukraine, you don't have any connections, you don't have anything like a strong game plan, you don't have any particular area which you know what you want to help at, I would say the first place you should always go is Lviv, not Kyiv.
Yeah, agree.
So talking about what can you do in Lviv, and also about the volunteer community and what you do, Mano, because you are honestly like a major pillar of the Lviv volunteer community. This drunk Frenchman.
Guilty as charged. But yeah, when you come to Lviv, I would say come to the Lviv Volunteers Kitchen. That's a very easy way, no skills required, no sign up. You can come for as little or as long as you want. And you'll meet a lot of other volunteers, and you'll hear about all the other projects that are going on. So even if you're not a kitchen person, you don't want to peel potatoes or chop carrots, that's fine. Come to the kitchen for an hour, you'll meet other people. Also, I organize a group dinner for volunteers every night. That's also a good way to meet the other volunteers, and then after that, usually we go to the bar and get
what's the bar's called?
Well, the real name is Tehla, but then half the people call it Mano's Bar. But.
Yes, you might even find it on Google, Mano's Bar. And I literally thought, I did not know the name of that bar for so long, because I always referred to it as Mano's Bar. And so...
Even the real owner actually makes fun of me and calls it Mano's Bar when I'm around, so...
Yeah. So the Lviv volunteer community, it's a great place. So some other things you can do while also in Lviv is net weaving. It's a very common thing that you'll see people do. And there's a lot of other stuff that we cannot talk about, but there's
also
things.
Like energy bars. Like some people make energy bars.
Yeah.
Some people go to the train station to help the IDPs, so the internally displaced people from Eastern Ukraine who don't want to leave Ukraine, but they come to Lviv, and often they're traumatized and need help to get resettled, and to even just carry their suitcases and stuff. Help them with that. Some are in wheelchairs; they need to be carried off the train. Like that's also helpful. There's some battery projects. Some people collect batteries and then make power banks to send to the soldiers, so they can recharge their phones and drones and whatever from the trenches. There's lots of different things to do in Lviv, so
yeah,
it's a good start.
It's a good start, and like I said, it's a good place to kind of get your feet in the water and kind of get an idea of what it's like here, because most people like, oh, we talk about your mom. I'm like, the whole reason why... Talk about your mom, man.
My mom was just here. I've been saying this. My mom just spent a week here. She left last night.
Or your mom was in Ukraine, and she was very hesitant about coming for quite some time. And I got to meet her, and I asked Mina to ask her some questions about some things, and a couple of questions I asked. One was like, expectation, and then what you actually saw on the ground, like. You remember what she said?
I don't remember exactly, but she said something like she was expecting, like most people would, expecting to see destroyed buildings or blown up windows, and there's zero signs of this in Lviv. Not like Lviv never gets hit, but very, very rarely. So it always gets fixed very quickly, and it's never in the center either. So if you stay in the center and volunteer at all the places we just mentioned, you're not going to see any sign of war other than a lot of soldiers and wounded men missing a limb or things like this. So yes, the war is in this country, but it's very much not in Lviv, really. So
yeah. And then there's that French word she used to describe the women's resilience.
She said the women are coquette.
Coquette, yes. I guess that's also an English word.
Which, it's in Merriam-Webster. Yeah, it just means that they want to look nice and will like put makeup on and dress nicely, and you'll see like women taking pictures in front of monuments and in front of, I don't know, interesting things in the city.
Yeah, it's like people are trying to live a very normal life,
Mhm.
even with the war going on in Lviv. And then the air raid sirens, I think she only heard one. There
Yeah.
was only one while we
Yeah,
were
she was
there.
pretty lucky. There was only one, but in Lviv, she was scared by anticipation before hearing one. And when the siren happened, her first siren, she was at the kitchen peeling garlic, and deep in a conversation with another American volunteer, she didn't even notice there was a siren. I was just a bit behind, and I could peek at her, and she didn't know. So then I went to see her and was like, "Do you realize what that was?" She was like, "No, what?" And I told her, "Yeah, that's an air alert." Oh, and everyone's just doing whatever they were doing before. Nothing changed. And about 15 minutes later, it was the second alert, which is the all clear. And this time I went to her and was like, "Hey, you hear it this time?" "Oh, yeah, that means the alert is over." And that was it. Which, yeah, when you hear that from a country that's not at war, you're scared or you don't know what to do. But really, in Lviv, most of the time, there's nothing to do.
There's nothing to do, and so sometimes the shelters might be closed. I mean, you said
Yeah.
like beforehand because it's just they're never used. And I remember my first time hearing that. I was like, the shelter's closed. Oh my god, what? And then I realized I'm like, dude, that guy's like, I'm not going to go.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you go outside and you see kids running around and people playing live music on the street and
Yeah,
people at cafes drinking and
Yeah, Lviv is a beautiful city. It's one of the most beautiful cities I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So I quite like it. So going to volunteer in Lviv and then volunteering across Ukraine, I mean, there's plenty of opportunities. There's no shortage. And like I said, like I had one person, she just showed up. I always like going back to Lviv too because there's interesting people and they want to do more and there's a lot of things that we can do, but it's like usually the lack of connections, like east and west. Like there's a lot of people that show up to Lviv and they have supplies, but they don't know how to get it to further places and stuff. So we're talking about like books for the orphans and other places now.
There's that too.
And I just met one volunteer who works with the publishing book stuff. So it was like,
Oh, cool.
yeah, cool. And so the libraries are most definitely probably going to be taken care of, which is going to be great. So, yeah, it's just interesting. I always love coming back here. There's always new people coming in. Like it's a constantly rotating community.
Constant flow.
Constant flow. You have a couple staples like Mono, which is always you need your staple like people there that can kind of keep tabs whenever you go back. So like, what's the new drama? What's the new story? That would be my biggest critique of Lviv is there will be drama if you stay long enough. But
and it's bound to happen.
It's bound to happen
community.
anywhere.
Two
Yeah.
people will not get along. And,
Yeah, that happens on the front too. That happens everywhere. That happens in
Yeah.
Kyiv. Yeah, any volunteer community. Yeah, whenever there's two people, there's going to be drama. But yeah, other things to do in Lviv. There's the IVC. You can go to the IVC for volunteers.
International Volunteer
Center. Yeah, that's where I go to get my laundry done. They have a area. They also have like a transit place for volunteers as well. If you, like I said, you can get into Lviv and you're only going to stay there for 2 days. They have like bunk beds, like 4 bunk beds that you can use, and a shower. So that's how I use my van life hack right there. And trying to think any other big volunteer ideas in Lviv. Oh, the horses.
We didn't mention there's a horse therapy thing where that's every Tuesday around noon, and they need volunteers to help them put the soldiers on the horse and then walk near them or run by the horse and help with horse therapy. I'm not quite sure how that works. To be
No,
honest.
I'm not sure how horse therapy. It's a horse, man. Horses are great. That's how it works. So, let's see. I think those are kind of the big things that we could talk about. But also, like I said, also for me, I like Lviv now because I've been doing work in Ivano-Frankivsk. It's like a 2-hour drive. Any future students at the drone school at We True Guns, you can use Lviv as like a hub from which you can get to Ivano-Frankivsk quite easily if you're finding it hard to find trains or vehicles. Like I said, Lviv's a great place to start your journey inside of Ukraine. It's always good to have that as like a starting point where if you feel like you go somewhere else and maybe you feel like it's too dangerous or you feel like you're not doing any good, You could always just come back to Lviv. You're going to meet other people. There's going to be new opportunities. There's ways for you to improve your skills. There's people there to help you. Like I said, IBC too, they'll help you with getting a visa if you're actually going to do volunteer work proper. And the community there can be quite helpful if like something bad happens. You had one person, we're not going to say names, but he had a medical emergency. You remember you guys had to, you spent a lot of time trying to get him all the way back to his home country. It was a long drive getting a medical vehicle that will transport him all the way out back home. So man is a good man. He'll take care of you. Just not when he's drunk. He might moon you. That's it. You know, that's the price you pay.
Yeah, talk to me before 10 p.m.
talk to Mano before 10 p.m. He's a great, wonderful man before then. So, any last words, Mano, that you want to add?
I can't think of anything, no.
All right. Well, guys, that's our video about how to enter Ukraine and about volunteering in Lviv.
Oh, maybe the group chat. There's a group chat where we have like 500 people or something in it. Even if you're not in Ukraine yet, we'll put a link to the group chat if you want to be added.
Please don't add extra drama to the group chat until you're in Ukraine. But yes, you can use it.
We have a big community, and feel free to come in the group chat and ask questions. And in the group description, there's also a lot of information about where to volunteer, or where's a good ATM to find in the city, all sorts of.
You'll know when Mano's dinner is, and so like I said, I just tell people like you show up to Ukraine, you have no contacts, no nothing. Just go to Mano's dinner. That's a perfect first initial meet. And then you'll probably end up going to the kitchen the following day, and then you'll meet some other people. And then honestly, like if anything, I'd say like the biggest asset for anyone coming to Ukraine is you have to have really good social skills. Good social skills, I feel like, opens up more opportunities for you, because it's like, you know.
I mean, yes, but we also have quite a few introverts in the community.
Introverts, but like hardworking, like, you know, you're doing a good job, like in that sense.
But they also like they come and they hear about different projects, and then they go and do their things like camo netting. And they're happy netting. They don't need to talk to anyone. They go and put their headphones on, and that's also perfectly fine. Like you don't need to be like a social butterfly to be useful here. Far from it.
But I was saying, like, in the way of like finding out about new opportunities, like, you know, so people want to invite you because they're like, oh, this guy's a interesting person. I'd like to hang out with them because, you know. So yeah, I'd say that's one of the cool things, and I'd say for a lot of people coming here, it's very different, like being back in the U.S., especially, and maybe from France, or you know, he's not really French. He's even though he's like the most non-stereotypical Frenchman. I mean, even though he is like the head guy at the kitchen, I bet. Do you feel any sort of shame about filling that stereotype, or that most of the?
I mean, I left France 22 years ago, so. It was a while, Not a big fan of my home country, so I have lived in a lot of places since then.
But like the socializing aspect, that's what I always really like about like Lviv, is how I get a real strong sense of like you can just show up and just start talking to people.
And the community is very helpful with any need you may have, or like whatever. Oh, I broke my phone last night. Does anybody know where I can get it fixed? Or, like all sorts of things have already happened to a lot of people, so chances are if something happens to you, no worries, someone will know how to fix that problem because it's already happened to someone else before. So.
No, that's what I say. If you really feel like you're lacking the idea of community, because it's always feel like the big issue in the U.S. right now for a lot of people is like social isolation and that sort of stuff. I'd almost want to say this is almost like I want to say like you can do good work here and also kind of enjoy yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Like I don't want to say you can take like a vacation to Lviv, but in the sense of like if you wanted to say, oh, I have 5 days and I wanted to do some good and also enjoy myself, you can most definitely do that in Lviv.
Absolutely.
All right. So final words. Guys, come to Lviv, come to Ukraine, help us out. We always need extra hands. There's always
always work to do. Like, don't worry about. Don't worry. Like, am I going to be useful? Is there something for me to do?
Don't worry. That's why I say to people, go to Lviv, not Kyiv, because I felt that in Kyiv. Like I didn't know where to go, I didn't know who to talk to, and you get that feeling of isolation, and then you just start doom scrolling because you're watching all these other people do volunteer work on Instagram or something, and then they don't have a Mano's bar there. They don't have as nice bars as I like, nice social community bars. So yeah, come to Lviv, come to Ukraine, help us out. We can use it. All right. Thanks,
All right.
everyone. See you.
Looking forward to meeting you guys.